Nyalche Chembo Toto Ningmi Shang, Donen Manam Chembo, Nyalche Lankara Dargan Santo, Sherman, Tumba Tuche Chanla Ki Shom Sar, Nishan Roar Zer Nishan Kamsa, Jawar Tuji Shan, Yelaman, Jimmy Panzo Jala, Soran. Gonjo Toban Poro Shinjilo, Gonjo Toban Poro Shinjilo, Gonjo Toban Poro Shinjilo.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching. Now we will continue to explain the Mahayana Shurangama Sutra, the Mahayana Shurangama Sutra. Everyone should be very clear about this. It is an especially sublime meditation method, or we can say that the Buddha and Ananda, along with many arhats and bodhisattvas, through dialogue directly point to the nature of mind, or through various analogies and teachings proclaim the truth of the mind's emptiness and luminosity. So all of you here to be able to receive such a sublime teaching also requires a certain amount of merit, or the result of accumulating merit in past lives. Otherwise, I think one might not encounter such sublime teachings. Although I, the one teaching, am an ordinary monk, yet indeed we are all together entering the scene from over 2,500 years ago during the Buddha's time of the dialogue between the Buddha and the noble beings. So for us this should be said to be very fortunate. Each one of us knows that in this cyclic existence, we indeed have heavy afflictions and deep karmic imprints, controlled in all aspects by karma, and afflictions without freedom. But in this age of degeneration, during these times of the 5 degenerations, to encounter such sublime teachings, I believe many people should be able to give rise to joy from within their hearts. Now, the content we continue to discuss today in the Shurangama Sutra previously, that is, the section on mind nature, when we should discuss this issue. In the mind nature section, Ananda always thought there was something called seeing nature. The so-called seeing nature was something truly existing. Then the Buddha repeatedly, through different analogies, through different reasonings, to explain that the so-called seeing nature has no truly existing thing. The seeing essence also has no true existence yet. It is also not non-existent. When spoken like this, Ananda and many other noble beings who had not attained the state beyond learning were also in a state of confusion. They could be said to be at a loss at this time. So at this time the Buddha also very compassionately comforted them, saying, "All you good men, do not be afraid. The Buddha is one who speaks the truth, speaks accordingly, speaks reality, and does not speak falsely." So what the Buddha has said is completely different from the 4 types of teachings of the non-Buddhist schools. You can carefully contemplate this, and you will definitely understand this truth. In the last class, we discussed this part. Then next, at this time, Manjushri Bodhisattva appears. Originally, this was a dialogue between the Buddha and Ananda. Earlier also, when the Buddha and Ananda were dialoguing, King Prasenajit appeared today here also. At the end of this dialogue between the Buddha and Ananda, everyone did not know what state they were in, including Ananda and other disciples. Everyone was in a state of confusion. The Buddha said, "You need not be afraid." But at this time, Manjushri Bodhisattva appears. We all know that Manjushri Bodhisattva should be the foremost in wisdom among the noble beings. Although in the Hinayana, the one foremost in wisdom is Shariputra, and foremost in supernatural powers is Venerable Maudgalyayana, but in the Mahayana, foremost in wisdom is Manjushri Bodhisattva. Manjushri Bodhisattva's realization of emptiness completely transcends that of Hinayana practitioners. In this way, Manjushri Bodhisattva's appearance here is still very necessary. We all know that, generally speaking, when the Buddha dialogues with other disciples, especially when encountering particularly profound topics, Subhuti, foremost in understanding emptiness, appears. Many sutras are like this, especially in the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Subhuti frequently appears. Here it is the same. At that time, Manjushri, the Dharma prince, having compassion for the 4 assemblies, arose from his seat in the great assembly, prostrated to the Buddha's feet, joined his palms respectfully, and addressed the Buddha. Here, Manjushri, the Dharma prince,
Many Buddhas, including Shakyamuni Buddha and many other Buddhas, actually made aspirations before Manjushri Bodhisattva, so he forever maintains the form of a youth to benefit sentient beings. This Dharma prince, who inspired many Buddhas to generate bodhicitta especially, had compassion for the four assemblies of disciples, including bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas, as the main great assembly, among which there were also many shramanas, shramaneris, and so forth. In this entire great assembly, Manjushri Bodhisattva arose from his seat, then first prostrated to the Buddha's feet afterwards, respectfully joined his palms and addressed the Buddha, saying thus, "World-honored one, this great assembly does not understand the Tathagata's elucidation of the two kinds of seeing essence and form emptiness, what is and is not." What did Manjushri Bodhisattva say to the Buddha? "World-honored one, among our assembly now many people have not realized what the Tathagata, the perfectly enlightened one, has revealed or elucidated about these two dharmas. What are these two truths? Actually, they refer to seeing essence and form emptiness. Here, seeing essence, as we explained before, refers to the clear mind that perceives the nature. The clear mind that can perceive is called seeing essence. It should be luminous and unconditioned, what we call awareness, this seeing essence. Here, form emptiness refers to all phenomena, all external phenomena, including form, sound, smell, taste, touch, mental objects, and so forth, all external sense objects, that is, seeing essence and external phenomena, seeing essence and form, emptiness. Regarding these dharmas, exactly what are they? Because previously everyone did not know what is the relationship between seeing essence and form emptiness. Is it something that exists, or is it non-existent? Existence and non-existence, this truth we have been struggling with. Exactly what is the relationship between seeing essence and form emptiness? Either it is seeing essence, or it is form emptiness, or it is not. This is the reasoning. Actually, we know that quite a number of people, led by Ananda, are actually in a state of conceptual consciousness. They have not entered the state of wisdom at all. If one has not entered the state of wisdom, just like present-day materialism or what the Hinayana Sarvastivada school teaches, there must be something definite. If there is nothing definite, the inconceivable and inexpressible realm is especially distant for them. So some Buddhist sutras also teach grasping characteristics is consciousness, not grasping characteristics is wisdom. This means that grasping characteristics is actually the realm of conceptual consciousness, and not grasping characteristics is the realm of wisdom. So here, the most crucial point for them, because previously exactly what is the relationship between seeing essence and external phenomena? What is it like? This has always been something they cannot understand. So Manjushri Bodhisattva once again represents the four assemblies of disciples led by Ananda, saying that their key point now is not understanding. Not understanding what? What the Tathagata has proclaimed, the relationship between seeing essence and external form objects, exactly whether it is something that exists or something that does not exist. This question they have always been unable to understand clearly. First, Manjushri Bodhisattva explained this reasoning to the Buddha, proclaimed this reasoning to the Buddha. Then he continued saying, "World-honored one, if these prior conditions of form, emptiness, and so forth are something that can be seen, they should be pointed out. If they are not something that can be seen, there should be nothing to observe." He said, "World-honored one." So these prior conditions we have before us, these things we see before us. Prior conditions here also refer to the current objects, that is, the current seeing essence and form, emptiness, and so forth. Or we can say it this way, the form, emptiness, and so forth, that are our prior object conditions, these phenomenal appearances of all things, actually form and emptiness. Some commentaries explain this as all phenomena. Some explain it as things with form and without form, conditioned and unconditioned dharmas. There are different ways of explanation, but regardless, it refers to the objective appearances we have before us. If they can be seen, they should be pointed out. The seeing essence or objects the Tathagata spoke of, if they are something that can be seen, then you should point them out, because things that can be seen can be pointed out. Just like we can see and point to things that can be seen, just like vases, pillars, and so forth, you should be able to point them out. My seeing essence is like this, form emptiness is like this. You can directly explain this reasoning, you can speak it out, point it out. If they are not something that can be seen, if you say there is nothing, if seeing essence or seeing nature has nothing that can be seen, if there is nothing that can be seen, there should be nothing to observe, then this would not be within the scope of our eye faculty, not within the scope of what we can see. In that case, just like the son of a barren woman and rabbit horns or turtle fur, it could not become a category of what can be seen, but actually it cannot be acknowledged this way either, because this seeing essence is still acknowledged by everyone as something that can see. If there is something that can see, either you point it out or you say it cannot be seen, but exactly what is it like? Actually, Manjushri Bodhisattva also represents these people. In bringing up this reasoning, they have always been unable to understand clearly and brings it up again here. Now they do not know where this meaning leads, so they are frightened. This is not because their past good roots are shallow. He says here that these people led by Ananda do not now know where this meaning ultimately belongs to what kind of reasoning. If you say it can be seen, you also cannot point out anything. If you say it cannot be seen, it should not be within the scope of what can be seen, but it is also said that it can see. So they do not know what this reasoning is exactly like. Therefore, these people are somewhat surprised and somewhat afraid, because this seeing essence, if you say it does not exist, it seems to exist. If you say it exists, it seems to not exist. Probably many of us ordinary people would also be like this feeling that our so-called seeing nature, clear awareness, sometimes it seems to truly exist, sometimes it seems to have no way to exist. There is such a thing. So at this time they fear their practice will go wrong, or that the seeing nature they recognize is not the true seeing nature. So sometimes they have some doubt, sometimes they have some fear, sometimes they feel somewhat distrustful of themselves. So this is not because their past good roots are shallow. Manjushri Bodhisattva just said, this is not because their past good roots. Here Chuksi means the past. This is not the realm of those with shallow past good roots, those with weak good roots. He feels that they all cannot understand these things now. In this case, they all have some fear, thinking that this might be due to having weak past good roots, especially Hinayana practitioners, or those who have not accumulated merit. I'm afraid such inconceivable reasoning would be difficult to understand. The Shurangama Sutra commentary says, just like the Avatamsaka Sutra. At that time, many people heard the realm of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Many people fainted at this Avatamsaka assembly and also at the Vaipulya assembly. When hearing some inconceivable aspects of Vaipulya, it was said they had Chufen Ganshin, Chufen Ganshin. I don't know what this means exactly. But actually they were also very afraid and unable to accept it. This is probably the meaning. Just like this. So these people, Manjushri Bodhisattva told the Buddha, I'm afraid people who have not accumulated much good roots in past lives cannot quite accept the realm you have spoken of above. What should be done? We only pray that the Tathagata, with great compassion, will elucidate what these phenomena and this seeing essence originally are, so that among them there will be no is or is not. He said, we solely pray to the greatly compassionate Tathagata. You should teach everyone, you should elucidate for everyone the relationship between these external phenomena and our seeing essence, our seeing nature, exactly what it is like, what they originally are, what are external phenomena and seeing essence originally, what kind of thing. Exactly is it something that exists or something that does not exist, and among them they cannot find is or is not, because exactly how it is. They have always been very conflicted about this, cannot find the absence of existence and non-existence. Exactly is there something that exists and something that does not exist. That is, characteristics and non-characteristics. Here exactly are this seeing essence and external phenomena a kind of characteristic or not a kind of characteristic. Here is and non are very crucial. Actually, we ordinary people, just like what Mifam Rinpoche explains in the Beacon of Certainty treatise, If black and white ropes are twisted together, then there are truly two different things. But our so-called union, or the so-called clear mind that perceives the nature, we always feel that it's either something that exists or something that doesn't exist. Apart from existence and non-existence within our narrow conceptual thinking, as ordinary beings we cannot accommodate anything else, so we can only use our own such narrow consciousness. When trying to analyze the sphere of wisdom, of course there are great difficulties. It's like trying to measure the entire expanse of space through the eye of a needle. This is unimaginable. So this principle here, Manjushri Bodhisattva, begins on one hand to restate Ananda's questions again, then to beseech the greatly compassionate Buddha, could you please once again clearly teach the four assemblies of disciples led by Ananda exactly what the relationship is between seeing essence and external phenomena, because in what we're discussing here, we're mainly explaining the seeing nature section. Actually, between objects and mind, or between external objects and the perceiving subject, there really is no separation. But this principle, Ananda has never been able to understand clearly. We are the same way. Our own mind and external objects, sometimes it seems our mind arises depending on external objects. Sometimes we feel that all external phenomena appear depending on our own mind. Exactly how is it? Sometimes Buddhist sutras also say that all phenomena are created by mind alone. Sometimes, external objects are object conditions. Depending on these object conditions, I consciousness and so forth arise. Then consciousness appears in the second moment, especially in the Vinaya Sutra or some sutras of the related Sautrantika school. This is frequently mentioned. Exactly how is it? We might sometimes also be regarding our own inconceivable sphere if we haven't realized it. I'm afraid we're also in such a contradictory state, always unable to liberate ourselves. Then what follows below is the Buddha compassionately giving teachings to Ananda and Manjushri Bodhisattva and others. This question is actually Buddhism's true way of answering. What follows is explained very clearly. If we ourselves have such questions, then how does the Buddha tell us we should contemplate this? At this time, the Buddha told Manjushri and the Great Assembly, in the Great Assembly, Ananda was certainly listening, all Tathagatas of the 10 directions and great bodhisattvas abiding in their own samadhi, seeing and the conditions of seeing, as well as all conceptualized forms, are like flowers in space, originally non-existent. Here the Buddha very compassionately told Manjushri Bodhisattva and the Great Assembly, saying, what? All the Tathagatas of east, south, west, north, the 4 directions, 4 corners, above and below, the 10 directions, as well as the great Bodhisattva Mahasattvas of the 10 directions and those abiding in this samadhi. Abiding in this samadhi of the inherent nature of Shurangama. This samadhi, because the Shurangama Sutra, it is the name of a samadhi. So abiding in such a samadhi, all seeing and the conditions of seeing, as well as all conceptualized forms, all of these are like flowers in space, originally non-existent. So here, a very crucial point is explained very clearly to us. Of course, for great bodhisattvas, for Buddhas, and those abiding in samadhi, it's probably like this. But we ordinary beings have also not attained the fruition of Buddhas and bodhisattvas, and abiding in the state of samadhi is also somewhat difficult. First, he explains a rather lofty state. So in their state, first is seeing, and the conditions of seeing regarding seeing. There is one way of explanation, Chang Shui's method of explanation. Seeing is consciousness. Conditions of seeing are the sense faculties and consciousness. Then all conceptualized forms are objects, because seeing should be the immediately preceding condition. Then conditions of seeing are the empowering conditions seeing through dependence on the sense faculties. Conceptualized forms are external objects, that is, object conditions. All dharmas included in these, all dharmas included in our faculties, objects and consciousness are like flowers in space. In this regard, Master Jehuan of Wenling, his explanation is slightly different. Seeing is the sense faculty, then conditions of seeing should be external objects. Conceptualized forms are consciousness. The reason is that seeing is the seer, the eye, the sense faculty. Then conditions of seeing are the external object conditions that are seen. This is his meaning. Then regarding conceptualized forms, because conceptualization involves consciousness. Actually, these two views can be harmonized, but regardless, all dharmas included in external objects, sense faculties and consciousness are like flowers in space. So regarding this, in the 6th volume below, there is also seeing and hearing are like illusory cataracts. The 3 realms are like flowers in space. I remember there being such a passage. What are seeing and hearing like? Like illusions and eye cataracts. The 3 realms are like flowers in space. There is nothing truly existent. This statement is also very important. Actually, the Buddha at that time told the 4 assemblies led by Manjushri Bodhisattva, what we see and hear, all dharmas included in our sense faculties and consciousness, have actually never arisen. We all know that flowers in space, have they ever arisen? They have never arisen. They are always without arising. Since they are without arising, they are without ceasing. That is to say, what appears to us now, whether it is seeing essence or external phenomena, all of these have actually never arisen, just like flowers in a dream. They accomplish nothing and are originally non-existent. So this principle, although here he directly mentions that abiding in this samadhi, there are none of these. Or actually, when we enter meditation as well, all happiness and unhappiness, or the appearances of good and bad external circumstances, various conceptual thoughts of the mind in the essential nature or in the wisdom of meditation, are like flowers in space. They have never arisen. This is also a very crucial point in our spiritual practice. This seeing and its conditions are originally the marvelous, pure, luminous essence of Bodhi. This seeing and the conditions of seeing, the seeing and conditions of seeing we just discussed, or seeing refers to our seeing essence, and conditions refer to external sense objects, or the external 6 sense objects, external phenomena. All seeing and the conditions of seeing are originally Bodhi. They are all originally the marvelous, pure, luminous essence. In Tibetan, the luminous essence is translated as Dharmakaya. There are also some Chinese commentaries that explain it as Dharmakaya, the self-aware Dharmakaya. There are such explanations as well, meaning when we speak of Dzogchen, we often say whether external objects or consciousness, everything is primordially pure, everything is originally Bodhi, everything is originally the play of Dharmakaya, a kind of marvelous power of Dharmakaya. The treasury of the true state constantly explains, it is a kind of marvelous power or a kind of adornment, although what appears are external phenomena. In actuality, this is merely the manifestation of the inner Dharmakaya. Actually, there is no other essence. The meaning should be the same. How could there be is and is not within this? In such a state, just like the flowers in space we mentioned, or in the state that is originally the luminosity of Dharmakaya, how could there be this is seeing essence, this is external phenomena, or is and is not? How could there be such things? In such a state, the so-called seeing or phenomena, all of these fundamentally cannot be established. When we realize the state of Dzogchen, everything is the play of awareness. In this, truly existent is and truly existent is not. Where can they be found? They fundamentally cannot be found, just like in a pure golden land. You cannot find ordinary stones and dirt in a completely pure state. Where would there be impure existence, non-existence, is or is not? Where can they be found? They fundamentally cannot be found. Then the Buddha continued to tell them, using an analogy to directly point to the nature of mind. The Buddha asked Manjushri, I now ask you, like you, Manjushri, is there another Manjushri? Is this one Manjushri, or is there no Manjushri? The Buddha said, Manjushri Bodhisattva, I ask you again today. For example, you, this Manjushri Bodhisattva, is there a second Manjushri? If there is this Manjushri, is this one Manjushri, or is there no Manjushri? Meaning, is it not Manjushri, or is it Manjushri? This question. If you don't understand it at first, you might wonder what kind of question this is, but actually the Buddha is speaking from the higher state, from the perspective of the ultimate true Manjushri. This Manjushri at the conventional level, both is and is not, are unreasonable. So your Manjushri is the truly ultimate awareness. Manjushri, the ultimate awareness. Manjushri is non-dual with the essential nature. In that case, Does he have these two types, Manjushri and not Manjushri? Just like this, the Buddha deliberately asked you, this Manjushri Bodhisattva, do you have the two contradictory natures of being Manjushri and not being Manjushri? Can they be found in you? The Buddha deliberately used Manjushri Bodhisattva to directly point, because he is the one asking this question. From your level, does the true Manjushri have one that is Manjushri and one that is not Manjushri? These two kinds of things. At this time, Manjushri Bodhisattva was also very wise. If it were probably other people like us, we wouldn't know what the Buddha was asking. So Manjushri Bodhisattva answered thus, "So it is, world-honored one. Yes, world-honored one. I am the true Manjushri without a Manjushri who is. Why? If there were one who is, then there would be two Manjushris. Yet today I am not without Manjushri. Within this, there are actually no characteristics of is and is not." Here, when Manjushri Bodhisattva answered, "Yes, world-honored one, I am the true Manjushri, if I am the true Manjushri," what he's speaking of here is the true Dharmakaya Manjushri. If he is actually the true Dharmakaya Manjushri, it would be very difficult to express in words. We can only use a kind of forced expression or a hypothetical way of speaking. So the truly ultimate Manjushri is without a Manjushri who is. There is no Manjushri who is. Why? If there were a Manjushri who is, then Manjushri would become two within one true ultimate Manjushri. Is there a second true Manjushri? If there were a second true Manjushri, then there would be two kinds of Manjushri, but this is definitely unreasonable. The ultimate Manjushri cannot possibly be two truly existent Manjushris. Yet today I am not without Manjushri. Then Manjushri Bodhisattva said, and today I am not without Manjushri. Having Manjushri is also incorrect. If there is one, it becomes two. It's also not without Manjushri. If there were no Manjushri, that would be nihilism. This is also impossible, also non-existent. So conventionally speaking, Manjushri is also not absent. We can say this. So in this state, there are actually no dual characteristics of is and is not. In Manjushri Bodhisattva's ultimate state, there are no truly two kinds. Actually, in the past, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, when he was at Mount Wutai, Manjushri's sacred place, had a spiritual song. I don't remember it very clearly, but the meaning was the Manjushri wisdom that we originally possess. We didn't know about it before, that we ourselves possess Manjushri Bodhisattva, so we fruitlessly searched elsewhere. And only today did we realize that actually Manjushri has never been separated from ourselves. It was a verse. Roughly this meaning, actually when our teacher Rinpoche was at Mount Wutai, the Manjushri Great Perfection, and then a tantra related to Manjushri Bodhisattva, and several spiritual songs. In these spiritual songs, he spoke of the ultimate Manjushri extensively. Actually, the ultimate Manjushri Bodhisattva is the essential nature of each one of us has never been separated, inseparable and indivisible, just like in peaceful Manjushri sadhana, in the verses of refuge and bodhicitta, the true Manjushri has never been separated, but such a Manjushri actually transcends is and is not. The is and is not that our conceptual thinking can express is merely an apparent Manjushri Bodhisattva, not the true ultimate Manjushri Bodhisattva. Because of this reason, many commentaries here also mention a public case from the Five Lamps meeting at the source. It should be called Master Fengen. Master Fengen had a good relationship with Han Shan and Scheid. Their relationship was quite good. Once Master Fengen said, "Scheid, would you and I like to go to Mount Wutai? If you go to Mount Wutai with me, then you are of the same stream as me. If you don't go with me, you're not of my stream." That's what he said at the time. Then Hanshan asked, what are we going to Mount Wutai for? Fengen said to pay respects to Manjushri Bodhisattva. At this time, Hanshan said, I'm not going, I'm not of your stream. Then Fengen went by himself. When he got there, he saw an old man. When he saw the old man, Fengen began to ask, "Are you Manjushri Bodhisattva?" Then how did this old man answer? He said, "Yes. If you are Manjushri, then what?" At this time, Fengen began to prostrate to him. When he prostrated to him, suddenly he disappeared. although in the 5 lamps meeting at the source, this story doesn't continue much further. I don't know what it says inside. In many Zen masters' commentaries, they also don't explain it further. There's a public case of Zhaozhou's second meeting with Manjushri, but this one also isn't explained very clearly. But I think his meaning can be understood in 2 ways. On one hand, because everyone knows Master Fengen is commonly known to be considered an emanation of Amitabha Buddha, and Hanshan is an emanation of Manjushri Bodhisattva. So when Fengen urged him to go to Mount Wutai, if Manjushri Bodhisattva himself, he might not necessarily be willing to go. This is one way of understanding. There's another way of understanding. When Fengen had already arrived at Mount Wutai before this old man, he also didn't seek another Manjushri. His reason is because when Master Fengen arrived there, he truly recognized the ultimate essential Manjushri Bodhisattva. So the true Manjushri Bodhisattva is actually the essential nature, or the true Samantabhadra Buddha. The true Buddha is our luminous, unconditioned awareness. This is very important. So the so-called Manjushri Bodhisattva here, from the worldly Manjushri Bodhisattva's perspective, you're either Manjushri Bodhisattva or you're not Manjushri Bodhisattva. This definitely doesn't make sense conventionally. From Ananda's level of understanding, Manjushri is Manjushri. You can't say either there would be 2 Manjushri Bodhisattvas or Manjushri Bodhisattva is not Manjushri Bodhisattva. There won't be such contradictions. But from the ultimate inconceivable perspective, our ultimate mind nature is actually the true Manjushri Bodhisattva. So such an ultimate mind nature. Does it have these 2 characteristics of is and is not? Can these 2 characteristics be found? Indeed, these 2 characteristics cannot be found. So this principle can be explained in this way. This is the Buddha and Manjushri Bodhisattva using his own being as an analogy. Next he continued. The Buddha also continued to explain this principle. The Buddha said, this wondrous, luminous seeing, and all these sense objects are also like this. The Buddha continued to tell the disciples, led by Manjushri Bodhisattva, the wondrous luminosity you now perceive, whether wondrous luminosity, seeing essence awareness, or seeing nature, that seeing nature and sense objects, that is, external objects. Actually, he might have done this for textual beauty, or perhaps in the original Sanskrit there really were so many different terms. Actually, the content he's speaking about is the same, but the vocabulary used in each section is basically all different. Perhaps there are also so many words in Sanskrit. Perhaps when translating, they were afraid that if there were too many identical words, it wouldn't be very reasonable in terms of expression. So sometimes they speak of this wondrous luminous seeing. Sometimes they speak of refined seeing, sometimes they say seeing nature and so forth. Sometimes here they say sense objects, sometimes they say form and emptiness, sometimes they say external phenomena. So the usage of many terms here is different, but actually what's being said is our clear mind and external phenomena are also the same. What we discussed earlier, the ultimate Manjushri, having no duality, is the same. Actually here it's also the same in the true ultimate sense. Mind and objects are merged as one. There are not 2 dharmas. Precisely because of this, the non-dual dharma door. The first question in the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment, the dialogue with Manjushri Bodhisattva, speaks of extremely profound Dharma, the non-dual Dharma door. In the Lotus Sutra, the non-dual Dharma door is also frequently mentioned, whether objects and perceiving subjects, good and bad existence and non-existence, high and low, all the things we consider to be opposing before us. We ordinary beings definitely need to find a right or wrong. Either it's right or it's wrong, either it's white or it's black. Of course, conventionally, our confused appearances are indeed such opposing dharmas. Conventionally, they have their validity, but in the true inconceivable state, these are all merely false appearances. Truly, the essence of white is also not white. The essence of black is also not black. What we consider to be right and wrong must also have some reality. But actually there isn't. So all seeing and objects are also like this. Originally they are the wondrous, luminous, supreme Bodhi, the pure, perfect, true mind, falsely taken to be form, emptiness, hearing, and seeing. Originally they are the wondrous, luminous, supreme Bodhi. Originally they all possess how wonderful. The essential nature is originally pure. How wonderful! The essential nature is originally complete. Such true Supreme Bodhi, the Supreme Bodhi that is originally possessed, originally without any defilement, pure originally without any deficiency, perfect, such a true mind. This true mind that we ourselves originally possess completely because of ignorance, because of various external conditions, finally becomes mistaken as form and emptiness. Externally, from the aspect of object appearances, emptiness and form, grasping at these external appearances, then from the aspect of perceiving appearances, there appear truly existent seeing and hearing and so forth. Now regarding these like a second moon, which is the true moon and which is not the moon, this is equivalent to when a second moon appears, which is the true moon and which is not the moon. This should be analyzed below as well. The meaning is our original true mind and awareness actually do not have these things, but because of our ignorance, they have already appeared externally. They appear like eye cataracts, like a second moon, like hairs floating before the eyes, and various confused external appearances, appearing though non-existent. In Buddhist logic, it's often called appearing though non-existent. Originally non-existent, but they can appear. This is called appearing though non-existent. Below, the Buddha also said, Manjushri, only one moon is true. Within this, there is naturally neither is moon nor not moon. The meaning is that actually, regarding the second moon, the true moon is equivalent to our essential nature. But this doesn't mean that the moon in the sky, the truly existent thing, is real. It's not this meaning. The true moon is equivalent to this kind of nature within our mind. In the beacon of certainty, it says the true moon, the moon in water, and the painted moon. When different noble beings see the Dharma nature in their respective states, there are these three analogies just like this. The truly real moon is actually our true essential nature. This is the pure, perfect, true mind we just mentioned, the Supreme Bodhi, pure, perfect, true mind. It's like this. Then, depending on external conditions, a second moon appears externally. But among the second moons, which is the moon and which is not the moon, this fundamentally cannot be found. Actually, regarding the second moons, neither are truly the moon. You can't say they are the moon. You can't say they are not the moon either. Neither exists. You can't say they are truly the moon. If you say they are not the moon, there is still undeceptive appearance. So you can't say either. So here it says, therefore, what you now observe as seeing and dust objects. All these various manifestations are called false thinking. So the Buddha told Manjushri Bodhisattva, what you now perceive, whether seeing or external sense objects, all these various discoveries, various phenomena are all false thinking, called false thinking. You cannot from within this produce is and is not. From within false thinking, what cannot be produced? It cannot transcend the states of is and is not, because false thinking is either in the state of is or the state of is not. Beyond this, there is fundamentally no way, there is no third inconceivable state. But because of the true, refined, marvelous, aware, luminous nature, it can enable you to transcend pointing and non-pointing. So what do you now understand? The true mind, true, refined, marvelous awareness, the luminous nature of true, refined, marvelous awareness, the Dharma nature of true, refined, marvelous awareness, or within the Dharmakaya, it can enable you to transcend what? Pointing and non-pointing, regarding pointing and non-pointing, here pointing. According to Chang Shui Zixuan, pointing means seeing, non-pointing means non-seeing. The meaning is, if you truly understand your mind's original face, at that time you can depart from what? The states of seeing and non-seeing. You can neither say it is seeing nor say it is not seeing. Actually, what we call inconceivable. Here it says some textual masters, they are often trapped in texts, in chapters and verses. unable to understand the meaning of one taste, one essence, because our textual Dharma characteristics are equivalent to today's academic world. The academic world definitely needs to have, for example, if this person was born, then such and such year CE or such and such year BCE. If you don't have such definite temporal evidence, you develop doubts, and if you develop doubts, you cannot verify. Of course, sometimes scientists' research methods are also rather strange. On one hand, when they define science, they need to continuously explore. Having a spirit of doubt in research is the scientific spirit. They cannot completely believe everything. There is no authority. They definitely need to continuously improve and explore. But on the other hand, they feel there definitely needs to be something definite. But actually, this definiteness they obtain. Later, when you observe again, continue to verify again, you find much evidence that can overturn their previous viewpoints. Views they previously considered unshakable, very ultimate viewpoints. But later on, it seems because their tools, materials, or because their wisdom has matured, everything discussed previously is all re-argued again. This also happens, regardless, the academic world or textual masters. As Chang Shui said about textual masters definitely need to find a reliable basis in the text and sentences. If you don't have this perfect harmony, without contradiction, inconceivable, unimaginable. Such profound and unfathomable words and meanings for them are beyond reach, impossible to touch. This is also the meaning. Above this, what we've explained should be, the seeing nature is without division. Explaining this principle, what follows next, here, the seeing nature is not from causes and conditions, but is natural. Explaining this principle, let us explain this a little more. Next, Ananda addressed the Buddha, world-honored one, truly as the Dharma King has said. The aware conditions pervade the 10 directions of the world, clear and eternally abiding, its nature neither arising nor ceasing. Here he says, because this previous section has now ended, after Manjushri Bodhisattva made such a request, the Buddha spoke especially profound principles. Actually, if we have time, we should contemplate carefully ourselves. These principles the Buddha spoke to Manjushri Bodhisattva should be especially blessed and inspiring. We generally say how a certain teacher spoke to a certain student. This is worth recording. So the principles of dialogue between the Buddha and Manjushri Bodhisattva such as this, if we obtain them today, I feel we are still very fortunate. More important than anything else, we ourselves can also slowly, gradually contemplate them. Generally speaking, the great masters of the past. During the day they sought the Dharma, at night they contemplated. I once read a teacher's biography when he went to study. The conditions were poor. At night there were no oil lamps, no conditions to use butter lamps. In this case, during the day he continuously sought the Dharma. Then at night until dawn he continuously contemplated with eyes closed, contemplating all the Dharma content spoken that day. After doing this, he gained an even deeper understanding of the profound meaning within. We now have time and also have these conditions, reading books at night and so forth. We have these conditions, but sometimes, if our eyes are not good, looking at computers and various things isn't very good. Actually contemplating with closed eyes the content spoken today or the content learned during the day, quietly digesting it in the depths of one's heart. In this way, this is also very important, because when the Dharma meaning directly merges into one's own mind, perhaps what our eyes see or what our conceptual thinking thinks is not as powerful as merging into true awareness. Its power is more special. Next, we just discussed Ananda addressed the Buddha saying, world-honored one. Truly as the Dharma King, the Buddha, you have just said, the aware conditions pervade the worlds of the 10 directions, clear and eternally abiding, its nature neither arising nor ceasing. The meaning is that aware conditions, There are several different ways to explain this. According to Jiao Guang, this awareness is called true nature. Then conditions mean all phenomena, aware conditions. Another master explained that awareness refers to bodhi. Then conditions are external form, emptiness, seeing, and hearing. Also, Master Tongli said, aware conditions mean seeing nature. In the Tibetan, clear awareness is external conditions, clear awareness is conditions. Actually, awareness and conditions are in parallel relationship. In Tibetan and from other masters, they all call it aware conditions. We can also understand it as awareness or as seeing nature, just as Master Tongli explained, seeing nature. This seeing nature, as was just said, just as the Buddha, you have said, the seeing nature pervades the 10 directions. From the worldly level, it is clear and eternally abiding, unchanging. From its essential nature, it is neither arising nor ceasing. This awareness you spoke of, Buddha, both pervades everything and always eternally abides, and it is also neither arising nor ceasing. How is this view different from the Brahmin sages? First, let's discuss the Brahmin sages. What are Brahmin sages? They are called Kapila. This is the Matangi girl we mentioned earlier. When Ananda was taken away by the Matangi girl, she used this mantra. At that time, it was also Kapila's mantra. Actually, Kapila seems to be from the Samkhya non-Buddhist school called golden yellow. Their hair is golden yellow in the commentary on the ornament of the middle way. When discussing non-Buddhist schools, it also mentions some of the different non-Buddhist schools. There should be golden-haired ones. The primordial matter he discusses regarding primordial matter. Among the 25 principles, the first is the eternally existing self called primordial matter. The Samkhya non-Buddhists believe in this so-called self, divine self, and also the ash-smearing non-Buddhists. The ash-smearers, they often for the sake of practice smear much ash on their bodies, and sometimes they lie down in thorn bushes, and some walk on needle points, and sometimes they burn themselves with 5 fires and so forth, generally a type of naked non-Buddhist. Their teachings are still quite deep. Actually, in India now, the naked ones and Brahmin sages, the school we just mentioned should be Brahmin sages, their school that takes Brahma as their main deity and so forth. Various non-Buddhist schools also saying there is a true self pervading the 10 directions. In some commentaries, the previous ones mentioned mainly the Samkhya and naked non-Buddhists, all the schools that acknowledge an eternal self. And in some other commentaries it says the first one just mentioned is the Samkhya non-Buddhists, the second is the naked non-Buddhists, the third is called the consciousness-only school. They say there is a true self, and if there is a true self, there is a great self, small self, and indefinite self. It should be in the Shurangama Sutra commentary that these are also discussed. So here, their great self pervades the 10 directions Ananda just asked. In that case, you just said that aware conditions also pervade the 10 directions. Then regarding the naked non-Buddhists, they also have a kind of dharma that pervades the 10 directions. And regarding primordial matter, the Samkhya non-Buddhists also have a kind of divine self that pervades everything, pervades all phenomena. In that case, what is the difference? Our awareness pervading the 10 directions and the eternal self they acknowledge pervading the 10 directions. What is the difference? Then he says here, world-honored one you once at Lanka Mountain. Lanka Mountain is now that Sri Lanka area, the Lanka country, yes, Lanka Mountain. We mentioned Lanka earlier in Tibetan, but in Chinese it's often Yoga, Lanka, but how to pronounce it you can see for yourselves. At that time, the Buddha was at Lanka Mountain and expounded this meaning to Mahamati Bhikshu and others. Actually, at that time, you also spoke. What did you say at that time? All non-Buddhists constantly speak of the natural. At that time, you were in the Entering Lanka Sutra. Actually, this is found in the Entering Lanka Sutra. In the Entering Lanka Sutra, it says, you said at that time regarding non-Buddhists, they often acknowledge a kind of natural self. Then I speak of causes and conditions. Buddha, you yourself said, my kind of self is actually the dharma of causes and conditions. If it were not the dharma of causes and conditions, then like turtle fur and rabbit horns, it would be unreasonable. At that time, this was in the Entering Lanka Sutra, not their sphere, not their sphere. So the Dharma of causes and conditions we speak of arises through causes and conditions and ceases through causes and conditions. This principle is reasonable. You said at that time in the Entering Lanka Sutra, non-Buddhists have the natural, such an eternal self, pervading everything, while our Buddhism all depends on causes and conditions to arise. Dependent origination and emptiness arising through causes and conditions. In that case, now you hear say awareness is natural. We can also say awareness is natural or aware conditions are natural. Earlier we had aware conditions. Now you hear speak of awareness. You see here there's the word awareness, this awareness. We often use this in the tantric teachings, the mind of primordial awareness. This kind of primordial awareness, the awakened essence, is called Rigpa. Rigpa means awareness. Here, there is also this word awareness. When I translated before regarding awareness, some said this word doesn't exist, but actually this word does exist. Regarding awareness, here it says Ananda asked, awareness is natural, and the previous aware conditions are natural, or seeing essence is natural. These all have the same meaning, so you now say awareness is natural, and it is neither arising nor ceasing, beyond arising and ceasing. Far removed from all false thinking and delusion, false delusion. It seems not to be from causes and conditions, because you now speak of this awareness as natural, not arising from causes and conditions in that case. What difference is there between this and the non-Buddhist natural? How do you distinguish this? Just said it's not from causes and conditions. So what difference is there from the non-Buddhist natural? Please give teaching so these beings will not fall into wrong groups and attain the true mind, the marvelous, enlightened, luminous nature, so that these beings will not fall into wrong paths, and they will attain the truly authentic true mind, the marvelous luminous awareness. To enable them to truly attain this, please Buddha, give teachings. So regarding this, we can discuss the Buddha's response in our next class. Actually here, generally the self that Buddha acknowledges, this kind of awareness that is acknowledged appears, yet has no inherent nature. It has nothing truly existent. While the non-Buddhists, whether it's the eternal self, divine self, or what they themselves acknowledge as this true self, pervading the 10 directions, all have truly existent things. This is the most crucial point. Whether our Tathagata essence, our awareness, our seeing essence, if we acknowledge something truly existent, then indeed this would be quite difficult. In that case, there would be no difference from non-Buddhists, but specifically why the Buddha responds to awareness is natural, and why in the Entering Lanka Sutra it speaks of dharmas arising from causes and conditions. These principles should be explained in tomorrow's next class, because this question is also very crucial. Otherwise, actually, each religion speaks of some kind of natural thing pervading the world. If this were truly the case, then our so-called awareness and the so-called creator or divine self or God, would there be any difference between these? We definitely need to analyze this question, because we discussed earlier in the wish-fulfilling treasury, it says all the appearances manifested by Vairochana Buddha. Actually, the greatest difference from non-Buddhists is that we also would not acknowledge Vairochana Buddha as something truly existent. If there were something truly existent, when did it begin creating? When did it end? When we analyze like this regarding truly existent dharmas, they are very difficult to establish. If it is not truly existent, then the dharmas of causes and conditions that our Buddhism discusses. In the realm of appearances, whenever causes and conditions are complete, anything can appear. In the true ultimate sense, nothing is established. This principle is especially important. From what angle the Buddha responds below, I'm not very clear, but actually the most crucial point is appearing yet without inherent nature. This is Buddhism's most crucial issue. If you don't understand this, indeed the various schools' acknowledgement of truly existent creators are indeed very difficult to analyze. How specifically to respond, we will continue studying in our next class.
Banzar Padma Sodargye Bandharangara Padma Sodargye Bandharangara Padma Sodargye